So welcome back to the All We Need podcast. I'm really pleased that today the conversation is with my friend Peggy McGee. She's really important to this conversation about our territorial priorities and has been part of the discussion really from the beginning. She's one of the people we've been listening to. So I'm pleased that now we get to talk about this in front of people because we've done a lot behind the scenes. So Peggy, welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself and your role here at THQ.
Yeah. I'm Peggy McGee, as you said. I here at THQ work in the youth department. So my title is the Assistant Territorial Youth Secretary, and I love it. It is a dream job to get to support the youth work done throughout the Central Territory. Beyond professionally, personally, I'm a youth girl. I love working with kids and teens and young adults. I am very active in my corps and also volunteer within the community that I live in, tutoring and doing acting lessons. So I love doing those type of fun things. And I get to be the mom of a young adult, which is extremely eye-opening and humbling and wonderful all at the same time.
Yeah. I didn't know about the doing acting part. I mean, I know you do that,
Sure.
But I didn't know you were actively involved in that. So when do you breathe?
You know what? God is a God that restores rest when I take those moments.
Yes.
So I do try to find really good rhythms. And community is life-giving for me.
Yeah.
So that is my opportunity to breathe. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. We attend the same course, so it's fun to get to see you in action, too, and see the results of how you've poured into the life of the young people at our core and in the territory. You've been here around long enough that some of the young ones are the young adults now, right?
Yeah.
So how does that feel?
Again, humbling, exciting, hopeful.
Yeah.
You really start to see them make their faith their own, not just trying to be like someone, but to be like Jesus within their own experiences. And really excited for what they're going to bring to the table or continue to bring to the table.
Right.
So it leaves me very hopeful.
Yeah, good. We're going to talk about hope, I think, a lot today, but let's talk about specifically our priorities. So youth first for this conversation, but also very much spiritual life and leadership development. They're so connected in the work that you do. So why do you think they're important? Why have they risen to the top?
Yeah. You know, I really was thinking a lot about the word priority because I'm a word person. I like to think of the emphasis of things. And when we think of priorities, I think it's important to come at it with an abundance mindset, not a scarcity. So when we prioritize something, it's not to negate anything else.
Right.
And I was thinking, where else have I heard priorities? And it's like priority seating on the airplane.
Oh.
I might not be the priority seating, but my spot is still secure. I'm still going to take a flight. And so I think it's important to prioritize these three areas because it's foundational for our future and for our current ministries. And yet it all feeds into every ministry that we do in the Salvation Army. Every scope that we have builds on leadership development, spiritual growth, and youth. All of that is so important in the foundation of who we are.
Right. Yes. And how is that reflected in what you do?
Yeah. Well, I get to fortunately prioritize youth.
Yes.
But I think it's reflected in who I am and what I do in the sense that I think youth have voices that need to be heard and that we need to give space for them to know how to use their voice. And so we spend a lot of time talking about how do we prioritize youth. And instead of talking about them, I think we can bring them into the conversation. And then really it becomes what do we do with what they said? And working that out. And I think that's another opportunity for us in the sense of rather than just listening and then the grown-ups go to another room to decide what we do. What if we made them part of the action plan and really showing that tangibly that we're hearing what they say.
So we did spend some time listening, and but we can't just listen, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So even around those tables, so I just heard about a core that is now intentionally including youth and their core council and some of the committee work that they do, the practicality of how the core runs. Is that enough? I guess I'm giving you my answer. I'm hinting. Is it enough for them to sit at the table?
I think it's dangerous for us to ever say anything's enough.
Yeah.
Because there's always more. There's just, we learn more, we grow more.
Yeah.
It is for sure the best start at something to bring them to the table.
Yeah.
And I think when we start to feel comfortable with something, that's when we should start looking at then what's the next thing. I think sometimes we push ourselves too fast to the next thing and we don't settle in to find a healthy balance or the right way to do the new thing.
Yeah.
So start there. And then when this feels right, let's move to the next level.
That's great. Peggy, I love you. You're always so measured. And
at least in the recording.
Right. Well, no, you always are thoughtful about what comes next.
Yeah.
That's what makes you a good leader, that unlike some of us who just think out loud and react, you're able to see ahead for, let's take this in a wise way. So that's a great leadership skill that you bring to all of this. And you're right, we want to start with that. So every core, every ministry we have needs to start looking for ways that youth are at the table.
Yeah.
And then what's next? Listen and see. They'll help us, right? Figure out what's next if we're really listening.
Yeah, and I think, too, there is no formula to this.
Right.
There are best practices, there are suggestions, but there is no A plus B will always equal C.
Yeah.
And so we learn and we grow within the uniqueness of our communities and the needs of the people that we serve.
Right.
All of that changes, but it has to start somewhere with who's represented.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not every core even has a core council to offer them to sit at that table. So where is it where they can be part? And maybe it's coming alongside in the nursery, right? And partnering with another leader. And there are so many other ways because the Army doesn't look the same, you're right, in every place. So, but we need youth in every space.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so important. So let's talk a little bit more about what's next for us, because we've been listening in the Territory. We've said this is a priority. So what?
Yeah. Talking about that, listening is only so good until we now need to take action.
Yeah.
And so I love the so what question. And I think when we look at all of the different resources and things that we have available, sometimes it's a little paralyzing because I'm overwhelmed and I don't even have a youth worker, or I don't even have a youth group at my church. And so I think it's starting to really intentionally evaluate and look at where are we at and what are we ready for? And are we praying for the next thing? So I think everything, and I don't say it in a trite way. No. Everything needs to be bathed in prayer. Every decision needs to be started with the Holy Spirit guiding and moving us forward.
Right.
And then with that, I think it's looking at, are we even ready for kids to walk through the door?
Right.
Are we good neighbors to our community to know what's going on and how we can connect with them? I think those are some really interesting spaces to start evaluating and defining it that way. I also think, too, when I'm thinking about the so what, or what do we do with all of this information, it's not comparing to what other ministries are doing or what other cores are even doing, because we need to be collaborating. And because comparison really is very detrimental to things. And so when we look at from an assets view, what can we bring to the table within our communities, within our ministries? What do people have that they're bringing to the table? Then we build on those things rather than saying, well, we don't have this and we aren't resourced. There's some great research that was done by the Fuller Institute, and they produced wrote a book called Growing Young, and it talked about the myths of youth ministry. You don't have to have the big budget. You don't have to even have a standalone youth ministry. You just have to have people who are willing to intentionally invest in kids.
Yeah, yeah. So in our smaller core, where there aren't the resources, aren't already functioning maybe youth programs, we do. It's sad and real that we have core where there's not right now a functioning youth program.
Yeah.
So how do they start?
Yeah.
How do they get ready?
Yeah. I think one of the things I would just encourage people, first of all, is how are we being good neighbors?
Yeah,
because
I love that.
most of our core, I would venture to say all of them, are in communities that have schools or youth programming. Most of them are doing things like Pathway of Hope,
right?
Or outreach programs that way. So there are connections to kids.
Yeah.
They might just not come on Sunday morning or a Wednesday night youth group, and that's okay. We could maybe redefine what good youth ministry looks like, or what the definition of success looks like. When we look at, instead of it saying numbers or people coming on Sunday, maybe it's consistency.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, this is how we partnered together with the ministry so that we could provide something that another group couldn't. And those then, that's the extension of our congregations, and they start to understand things in a new way. So I think that's a big start. I also think just really practically look at your space.
Yeah.
Is it a space that kids feel like they have a place in? I have done some work in education and trauma-informed care, and we really talk a lot about creating safe spaces, but it's not enough to make a space safe if people don't know they're safe.
Right.
If it's not enough to say we want kids to be here if kids don't know they're welcome there. And that can start just basic with the way your rooms are set up. Do you even have space for kids to be kids in?
Yeah. I'm just thinking, I know we have a lot of core, I think, who are learning this and practicing it with simple things like having a back corner of the chapel where there's a play mat and some toys, so that that's a good safe from harm practice if you don't have enough adults to take them out.
Absolutely.
It's comforting for parents who are new to coming to church that I can sit with my kids and still listen.
Yeah.
And it's a discipline for a congregation who may not be used to hearing kids.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's that, for me, that those are hopeful noises. Like, it's so great that we've got babies crying in the back. It's so great that, the kids are jingling the tambourine that we gave them. Right? Just thinking, just a whole new mindset of that being a hopeful piece of this is. And that's not hard, and it's not expensive.
Right.
But it feels like, you intend for my kids to be here.
Yeah.
And it's okay that they might make a little noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm going to veer off from what we've talked about because it just, as you've been talking, it reminded me when I was a youth worker, I went to a workshop that stuck with me my whole life. And not a lot of things stick specifically with me, but he took us through a practice of walking our neighborhood in our heads. And based on Acts 17, where Paul gets to Athens, and before he goes to speak, he takes a walk around the city.
Right.
And then he can say, so I've seen this, and I've noticed this. And I think that just that, whether it's walking, probably not in January,
right,
in most of our communities, or getting in the car and just driving around and saying, oh, look, well, there's a whole bunch of teenagers standing on that corner with nothing to do.
Yeah.
Or there's a playground, but it's a mess. Can we, rather than do something at our place, can we join in to make that space? Like just seeing where are the youth, where are the gaps, just in our minds, and actually for real, taking a walk in our neighborhood, in our community. And
I think I've shared with you, but that totally reminds me. Lisa Greenwood wrote her dissertation called God's Mixed Ecology.
Yes.
And she did some research about this, that the inherited model of church of this is where you go on Sunday morning, or this is where you go during holidays or in crisis, that is shifting generationally.
Right.
The statistics say that Gen Z is the first generation that wasn't raised for the majority to be in an inherited model of church.
Right.
And so when they are looking for a space in the crisis of life or at holidays, traditions, they're not necessarily going to a Sunday morning service.
Yeah.
And so she really encourages in this mixed ecology of church to look at how are we doing church Monday through Saturday. And I think the Salvation Army really figured that out early on,
Right.
in the fact that we minister beyond just
Yeah.
a traditional Sunday service. But I do think we still need to do some work. Like I said, it's never okay to say this is good enough.
Right.
Do some work in thinking this isn't just people we serve. This is our
Yeah.
congregation.
Yeah.
This is our youth group.
Right.
And moving beyond if we build it, they will come,
Yes.
to going into spaces that we could really connect with.
Yeah.
And seeing what does the community need, just like you said.
Right.
And that's her whole thing is how do we fill gaps, or how do we build on what we already bring to the table?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much there to unpack that I think is really important. One of the things is what we measure. So how do we measure what happens Monday through Saturday?
Yeah.
You know, how for our own, and it's a kind of a self-esteem, Salvation Army esteem thing, that rather than just counting what our stats for Sunday,
Yeah.
are we paying attention to how many kids come in our door, either themselves or via a parent who comes to us?
Right.
Are those kids counted as part of who we are?
Right.
And the influence that we have in a community. I think that's, but we have to do better institutionally at how we measure that.
Yeah.
And saying that that's success.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you have on Sunday, when you're having that kind of influence during the week and impact on people's lives, that's success.
It is.
The other thing I was thinking about, it's just gone out of my mind. Oh, no, it's specifically, you gave me a number for Pathway of Hope.
Yeah.
That I knew it, but I didn't know it.
Yeah.
So tell me.
Yeah. I mean, I should have written it down specifically, but I believe in the last 10 years,
Approximately.
it's 19,000 kids
Yeah.
have benefited or been connected through Pathway of Hope, meaning their families were in this program or receiving this support.
Yeah.
And I think there are some families that transitioned in, so those aren't, they are coming to our programs, they're coming to church, they're coming to camp. But did you know, Central Territory,
Right.
that we have loved 19,000 kids?
Yeah.
And do we know their names? How do we connect with them?
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I feel like some of the easy, it requires work, but offering tutoring,
Yes.
offering day camp or after school programs. I just would say to people, don't start with let's get them on Sunday morning.
Right. Right.
Because that's, again, it's a generation who that's not natural for them.
Yeah.
But what are the things that are naturally going to draw them in?
Right.
And always, always, always talk about Jesus and bring in
Absolutely.
prayer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best part of, for me, youth work in the Salvation Army. Because I've done youth work outside of the Salvation Army. I've always been in youth development, youth outreach. But to be able to share the life-changing message of Jesus and a relationship with the one that they can carry the rest of their life, I've not got to do that in all of the spaces. And I've never had to just only talk about Jesus on a Sunday. I talk about it all the time.
Yes,
and
right.
so that's such a cool part of what we get to do. And I think it's just really important. Even just our babies, kids that don't even have language developed, if we're holding them in a nursery, are we saying to them, Jesus loves you?
Yeah.
They are hearing that, and that's becoming building blocks of who they are going to be as they grow in this life.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. There's so much, isn't there? to
Always.
talk about. So we've talked about babies now.
Yeah.
Talked about kind of the middle, a little bit, maybe after school programs or day camp. talk about our teens and our young adults now. What's happening? I mean, the news talks about revival that's happening in these age groups. Talk about that.
There is some interesting phrases out there for teens and young adults because there is a resurgence of attendance in worship services. But a lot of them, and this is just generalization, but we'll say they're spiritual, not religious.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a fascinating delineation of things. Some people really find meaningful work within the traditions of a set religion. But this generation of teens, young adults are interested in the spirituality, in the connection to something beyond themselves, something that brings them hope, something that helps them make sense of the world in that way. And so I think that that's where we're seeing this resurgence. What could be dangerous is if we just try to ride the coattails without any intention and bringing it to, what are we going to do with this?
Right.
And how do you invest in this community now that you feel safe in? How do you make this real? How do you bring it beyond just your 20s? And I think those are the things we will need to start actually talking about and thinking about, or else it will dwindle down.
Yes,
right. And I don't want to see that happen.
And we talked a little bit about there is this kind of flexibility around what they're exploring and what they're looking for, and they don't live with boundaries the same way we do.
Right.
And all that's just reality.
Yeah.
It's not, we can't fix that or ignore it.
Right.
We have to think about that reality and think about how we really point them to Jesus.
Right. It's the orientation, right? It's centering and being oriented to Jesus as the focal point.
Yeah.
Because the Holy Spirit does the transforming work.
Right.
And so if everything that we do orients them and points them to making Jesus the center of it all, then God establishes the boundaries.
Right. He'll take care of that,
It's
right?
so miraculous.
Yes.
And I also think something that I think is really important is that we have to acknowledge that besides, let's take away anything that's happening current event-wise in the world. Yes. Just the experience of being in late adolescence and early young adulthood, they are going through major life transitions. Yeah. They are establishing themselves, moving from out of their family house into maybe their own. They're establishing careers. They're figuring things out. There's a lot of transitions that are happening. Yeah. And we have to give some space for that. Yeah. That when something has shifted and maybe they can't be as consistent or they have to step away from a leadership position or, attending on this night, we can't take that personal. Right. We have to provide space and not write them off. Yeah. Not say, oh, well, I guess they're not interested anymore. They might be going through this and then they'll circle right back around when things settle down a little bit. But again, it goes back to we can't measure it in numbers. We have to measure it in consistency, right? But I also just want to acknowledge, because I am a girl that has had to prepare Bible studies for a singular person that shows up. Yeah. It is hard to be the leader that puts in. It doesn't take any less work for me to prepare Bible study if I have 15 people or one person. Right. The effort that I have to make is still the same. And that can be hard when it's just the same.
It's discouraging to a leader.
That's the word for it. And so, I would like to say, let's just define good as consistency, and yet I get it. Yeah. It can be discouraging. Yeah. But we also know that God promises that our labor is not in vain. Right. And we might not get to reap what we sow. Yes. But we do trust that God is a part of all of these things.
Right. I think that's so important. We all tend to think that it's dependent on us. And I think maybe more youth leaders. Yeah. That's not, I can't prove that, but it's a sense I have. And so we who are leaders need to just keep affirming that it is not in all ways, it's not about you. That's not a bad thing.
Right.
That, they didn't. It's not about me that they didn't show up tonight. Well, if you're a prepared, good youth leader,
Right.
there are some who push
So
people
valid.
away. We're not talking about them today. But
Yeah.
But if you're doing your part, listening to the Spirit,
Yeah.
then it's not about you that they didn't show up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I'm learning a lot about just coming to things and stresses and concerns with open hands.
Yeah.
Which is, okay, God, you got this.
That's
You've got
exactly
them.
Yes.
You've got them.
Yes.
And they're not here, but you are still with them.
Yes.
And I think it's freeing when we can really say it and believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The highest compliment I was ever paid in youth work that I've done came 15 years after I had left a position.
Yeah.
And for a, special birthday, someone had all of my former teens write letters.
Nice.
And someone in their letter just said, and this was an inconsistent friend that came whenever their life provided them the chance. You always gave us a place to feel like family. And they knew they belonged. They knew they mattered. It was the relationship.
Right.
And their life took them in a whole series of ways. But I was able to share with them the love of God, which is rooted in truth.
Right.
And build on that part of things.
Yeah.
That is so meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's probably, we've got a whole page of other things we could
So
talk
true.
about. But I think that's a really good way to end. Just with that reminder to everyone who's listening that we can trust God with this.
Yes.
In the hard days, but also when it's good and we're celebrating and everything's working, let's also remember that's His.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
That it's all belongs to Him. So we're going to finish with how we always finish, with a reminder of the reason why we call this All We Need.
Yeah.
Comes from 2 Peter, and I'm going to read it again because we're starting a new season, and good to just remind us all. By His divine power, God has given us everything we need for living a godly life. And we've received all of this by coming to know Him, the one who called us to Himself by means of His marvelous glory and excellence. So we call this podcast All We Need because we trust God's given us everything we need for living a godly life and for living that out as leaders. So how can we pray for what you need?
Yeah.
Knowing that God will provide.
This past Sunday at our core, the sermon was on the fruit of the Spirit, which I feel like I could have easily just brushed off because I've taught on it, I've read it. But it was particularly important for me to be reminded that the fruit of the Spirit is not you're not given the fruit specifically. They're not like gifts, spiritual gifts. That all of the fruit of the Spirit is what is produced when we remain in Christ and when we abide in Him. And so how can you pray? How can we all pray? Pray for more joy. This is a hard world.
It is a hard world.
And I don't want to lose the joy of getting to do what I do. And if I've learned anything, kids know how to live out joy.
Yeah.
And I want to model that and embody that with the joy of the Spirit in everything that I do.
Okay. We will, and people listening.
Yeah.
We'll pray as well for you, Peggy. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
This has been fun and good, and maybe we'll pick it up in a few more months because we know we have more to talk about.
So true. Always.
Yes. I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for those who are listening to us today.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
All We Need, hosted by Commissioner Evie Diaz, is a production of the Salvation Army, USA Central Territory. For more information, visit salvationarmymedia.org/podcasts. Thanks for listening.